Welcome to Amazon Timestream for InfluxDB with Read Replica tutorial. My name is Suyash Joshi. I work as a senior developer advocate at InfluxData. In this short video, I'll walk you through what is Timestream for InfluxDB with Read Replica and how do we create this. So first thing, Amazon Timestream. It is a managed time series database service provided by Amazon. It comes in two flavors, Timestream for live analytics, and we're going to focus on Timestream for InfluxDB. Now this has InfluxDB 2.x version, the open source flavor, available as a managed service for you. We're going to focus also on a recently released feature, which is Read Replica. This comes as an add-on, and it is available in the AWS Marketplace. How to set this up, I'll walk you through a tutorial in a second. Read Replica, it's a way to handle scaled workloads by creating copies of the primary InfluxDB instance in different availability zones. So in the diagram here, we can see on the right, we have our architecture where we have two instances of InfluxDB. The primary instance is in availability zone A, and to that instance, a client can read information or it can write information to it. This is actually your main InfluxDB. Now, you can have another version of InfluxDB with the same data, which we will call a replica. And the replica is created when any information is written to the primary instance, it gets copied in an async manner to the replica. So a client now can read data not only from the primary instance, but also from the replica. This brings several benefits, such as automatic rapid failover. It ensures continuous operation and data accessibility across availability zone, even during unexpected outages, because you have a replica where you can read data from. It also improves read capacity. So for example, if you have high volume queries that are reading data, now you can point them to the replica and you can also point them to the primary instance. So you can split the traffic. It also actually improves write performance. So you can offload queries that are only used for reading information to the read replica, allowing the primary instance to focus on high-speed data ingestion. This brings a lot of benefits. It's a really exciting feature, and we're happy that it's now available on Amazon Timestream. Let's now create Amazon Timestream for InfluxDB. First step is to log into AWS Console and navigate to Amazon Timestream webpage. Here you will have option to pick the two flavors. We're focused on Timestream for InfluxDB, so we will select that and create it by clicking on this button. Now this website is very helpful. You can read about more features of Timestream for InfluxDB, all the latest updates. There are tutorials here, pricing information, etc. So once you are here, just click the Create button and you will land in this form. First setting you want to check is you are selecting cluster with read replica. That's what we are going for. As we discussed before, we're going to create a little cluster where our primary writer will be our main instance, and we will have a replica instance associated with that. Now for this, we do need a subscription as we discussed. It is an add-on from the AWS Marketplace. I have already subscribed to this, so it's showing checked here. For you, it might not be subscribed, but once you click on View Subscription, this pop-up will show you what the subscription is called, pricing information, and you can click Subscribe right here. For me, because I've already subscribed, it's just showing me to close this dialog. The rest, you just fill out the form. So I'm going to give it some test information. Make sure you remember the username, password, etc. that you've created, because you won't be able to change it later on. Then you move on to the instance configuration. Depending on your workload, you can choose what type of instance you want to run the database. I'm happy with the db.influx.large instance. I'm using it for testing purpose. I'm also happy with the default storage, 400 gigabytes and 3K for I/O. Then moving on to the network type. Now here you can pick defaults to IPv4. If you have requirement to support IPv4 and IPv6, you can select this one. And then I'm going to stick with the default VPC. For subnets, I'm going to use my different ones, and here you can stick with the default one or choose different ones depending on your requirement. VPC group, I'm also going to go with the default one. Final thing here to note is public access. I would like to access InfluxDB through the UI. Now that is up to you. If you don't want to access through the UI, you don't have to select this, but if you do, then you need an IP address for that, and you will get an IP address only if you make this publicly accessible. InfluxDB by default runs on port 8086, so I'm going to leave that as is. And rest everything, I'm going to just go with the default settings, such as automatic failover, default parameter group, and I am not storing the logs anywhere, so I'm going to leave as is. This is an option if you wish to store the logs that InfluxDB generates. You can store them in Amazon S3. All you have to do is point the S3 bucket right here. So with that, let's create it. Once both of them are created, we'll be able to see the details of these instances. The first one is our primary instance, and the other is the replica. And we can click on it and find and confirm the details such as the size. One thing to note is that the primary instance is living in a different availability zone than the replica. You can also see other information here. And if we go to the replica, notice it's in a different availability zone. So let's actually look at the UI. I'm going to open the UI for both the primary instance and the replica. Now, you need to notice the instance identifier. So this one starts with 52K8, etc. For me, this is my replica. And the other one is the primary instance. Now, the login credential would be the same for both of them. It will be the ones that we created when we were configuring it. So I'm now logged into both. As you can see, they're different addresses. This is the primary instance, and this is the replica. Now, I've been playing with this a little bit, so it has some data, but I'll show you. So this is the standard welcome UI. First thing we can do is we can go and we can create a bucket. So I've already have some buckets here. And let's just say if I want to create a new bucket, this is the primary instance. So I will call it primary test. And it will create the bucket right here. And everything is set to default retention period, etc. Now, if I come here, this is our replica. And if we look at the buckets here, we will see that we just got a bucket here called primary test. Now, this wasn't there before. It just got created the moment we created one for the primary instance. So everything is being replicated. Now, one thing to note, if I try to create a bucket in the replica and I say replica test, it will prompt that it failed to create the bucket because this is it's a read-only instance. So you can only query the existing buckets in this instance. You cannot create a new bucket or write data to it directly. Well, that's the purpose of a read replica. So that is great. Now, we're going to write some data to the primary instance, and we will see how data is written to the primary instance, but also at the same time, it is written to the replica, and we will query. So let's do that using a simple Python program. Here we are in Visual Studio Code. I have a diagram here to explain what the program does. First step is it will collect metrics. It's running locally. It's a Python program. Metrics such as CPU, RAM, disk I/O networking information. And it will send all that information to InfluxDB. It will do that by using the V3 Python client SDK, and it will write the information to the primary instance that we have created. Because we have read replica on, it will automatically replicate all of that information that is being written to the primary instance in the replica. Once we have that, then we can query either of those. So we'll query both just to show that you can query both. You can, divert your traffic, all the use case we mentioned above, because now you have a replica. So you can direct the traffic for query, heavy query, read purpose to this instance. So we'll query the primary instance as well as the replica and see all that. I won't go much into the code. It's on GitHub. You can play with it. I'll link it in the description. But at the very high level, you want to configure the information for your databases. So I have a URL. This is for the primary instance. I have the URL, which is distinct for replica. I'm using an API token that I've created through the UI. Because it's a replica, I can use the same API token for both the instances. Also, because the other one is a replica, it will have the same org and same bucket in it. So a couple of high-level functions. First one, like we saw, it collects the metrics from the local machine. Then we will write to the primary instance. And then we will read after the data has been written. So to write, we're calling the point object using our V3 client library, and we call the write function on that. To read, we have a simple flux query that will get the data for the last 5 minutes. And then we will again do the same query on the replica. So this is going to run on the replica instance, and everything will be logged out. So let's run this program. So if I go here, I can execute this file, and we can see it's starting to log information. So I've added a delay, so we can see the log happening one by one, 1 second delay. You don't have to have that, just for readability purpose. So we have written to the primary instance, and we are reading from it. And then again, it's the same exact data that we have here that we are querying back from the AWS replica. Exact same instance, even the same timestamp if you look at it closely. So that's it. Now, to double confirm, we can come back here in our UI. We can select, we want system metrics bucket, system metrics measurement. We want to see all of these fields, and the tag is local MVP. So if I run this, I'll actually select simple table, so we can see it in the table format. And we can see all of that data that was just written, my local MacBook Pro information here. So again, this is our replica. I can also query everything here, and it should give me the exact same result back. Now, one thing to note is, of course, if you're going to try to write, you won't be able to write to the replica because it's for read-only purpose. So I hope you got how easy it is to set up. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments or ask us in our forums. Thank you very much for watching this video.